Here is a 30-minute free preview of our copywriting bootcamp. You get the first 3 sections completely free. You can get a discount and find out more about this class by using the link in the description. I hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone, welcome to Copywriting Bootcamp, your complete guide to copywriting. So we're going to start with just an introduction to copywriting and talk about what we're going to cover in this course and what the job of being a copywriter entails. So these are kind of the key elements that we're going to look at that are sort of the key components of the job of being a copywriter. Understanding and creating a brand's voice is essential to the job, as is writing business-to-business copy and business-to-consumer copy, headline copy, copy for web pages and landing pages, promotional emails and product announcements, social media marketing, audio-visual marketing, and of course, getting clients so you have actual work to do as a copywriter. How are we going to do this? I think the best way to showcase what being a copywriter is to create a campaign completely from scratch for a made-up company. So we're going to be writing copy for a company called Softs, which is a sock company selling eco-friendly socks. And as we go through each lesson, we're going to write copy for Softs so you can kind of see how our lesson play into the actual writing of the copy. So I'm Brian. I've been a copywriter for the past 6 years for theatrical, TV, and gaming campaigns. And in my job as a copywriter, I've been fortunate enough to work on campaigns for Disney, Paramount, Netflix, Marvel, Disney, Warner Brothers, Ubisoft, Pixar, and all these really great and exciting and fun projects that I've been lucky to be a part of. I'm teaching this course because I think copywriting is a really important job. I think it's a really fun job when it's done well, and I really firmly believe that advertising can be a positive force in our culture and in our world if it's approached the right way and done the right way, as you're seeing a lot more in modern advertising. So we're going to kind of talk about a lot of aspects of advertising and copywriting that you can utilize to just put your own unique voice and idea out there and create something that's actually meaningful and important and impactful in the world.
And hi, I'm Phil. I'm one of the co-instructors for this class, and I'm super excited that you're here and super excited to be partnering with Brian on this class. My experience comes from a more personal, entrepreneurial space. I have my own business, and I've been writing copy myself for most of my campaigns. My business is Video School, my online training business. And to date, we've had over 2 million students enroll in our classes, over 100,000 followers across our different social platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And I'm teaching this course because as someone who's started my own business, I know how hard it is to write your own copy, to know what it takes to sell a product or service. So I'm really excited to partner with Brian, who brings that more professional copywriting experience. And then throughout the class, I'm going to be providing a lot of case studies into how I've used it for my own business. In this class, we've included downloadable worksheets and a workbook that will help you out. So make sure you download those and get ready to take action. This is going to be a super practical and fun class.
So before we begin, just a couple quick things to cover that are going to be essential no matter what kind of copywriting you do. I think it's always important to have positivity be a big factor of your copywriting. I don't think any ads that try to put down other companies or cultures or ideas or anything like that are ever going to be very effective to what you're trying to sell, not to mention other reasons not to do things like that. So approaching your messaging with a sense of positivity is always a good way to go. Honesty, obviously, this is critical in advertising because false advertising is a big issue for a number of reasons. So this basically amounts to don't lie in your copy, don't say things that aren't true, don't promote messaging that is exaggerated or misleading to the people who are going to be reading or seeing your copy and then subsequently buying your products or whatever you're selling. And so this all ties into ethics, which just is all encompassing as far as false advertising, lying, making exaggerated claims, plagiarizing especially is a big issue that you want to look out for in copywriting, and it can happen very easily accidentally. So whenever you're writing something, make sure that you're doing something that's unique to you, unique to what you're doing, and completely original so that you're not infringing on anyone else's work or words.
So thanks again. We're so excited to have you here. And Brian has a few quick tips before we get going.
So I think a really important part of effective copy is making sure you create an emotional connection with your intended audience. And by that, I mean you don't want to just be throwing information and facts at them about what you're trying to sell, but you want to be trying to spark some sort of emotion that they're going to connect with your messaging and your product and connect with them on a level other than just being a consumer. And we're going to talk about that a lot throughout the course too, just not treating your intended audience as mere consumers, but as actual people that you want to speak to and connect with. So let's look at 5 quick tips that will improve your writing as a whole. Number 1, concision is key. I think with copy, more words is usually not better. You want to get your message across as quickly and concisely and easily as you possibly can. Know your idioms. These are just the common phrases that you hear all the time. And having a good in-depth knowledge of idioms is going to help you to come up with fun, clever turns of phrase and twists of words and everything that will grab your audience's attention. Expand your vocabulary. This is pretty obvious. I think when you write words for a living, knowing more words is always going to come in handy. Be a grammar nerd. Also essential if you want to be a writer, you need to know proper grammar. You can't just be turning in work that is completely catastrophically grammatically incorrect and expect to get more work. So learn your grammar and then don't consume copy, analyze it. So by this, I mean, you're going to see copy everywhere in the world in commercials, on social media, on billboards. And I think starting to look at copy beyond a consumer point of view and more from a copywriter point of view and try to see what the writer was doing who wrote that line or that commercial or that ad, see what message they're conveying, what emotion they're conveying, how they use concision, how they use their words. Start breaking down these types of things as you see them and analyze them, and this will help you to become a better writer as well. Now I think it's worth talking about what copywriting actually is. So let's look at an overview. Overall, I think when you strip it down to its bare core, copywriting is storytelling. You're telling a story to your potential customers about what you're selling, what you represent, and why you think they should patronize your business or support your product. So in an overall marketing campaign, which is all encompassing of everything that we're going to talk about throughout this course, you're going to be responsible for conception, execution, and follow through. So that's coming up with the ideas, writing the words, and then following through on whatever is needed after those words are written, whether it's further explorations based on your words or revisions based on something you submitted. You're going to be there through each step of the way to make sure the words are exactly what they need to be for each part of the campaign. So you're telling pieces of a bigger story to get your key message across. So I think that's a good way to look at each section that we're going to cover in each piece of a campaign. You're telling just a part of an overall story about what you're trying to sell or what you're trying to convey to your audience. And then overall, the job is really crafting creative means of communicating essential information each step of the way. So each part of the campaign process is going to tell a different piece of the story. For instance, an AV spot or a web page is going to have a lot more information than a social media post or a single headline. So you're going to pick out the right words and the right things to say and the right message to convey at different points of the campaign to get the overall message across that you need to get across. So let's take a look at what the job of being a copywriter actually looks like in most situations. So the first way to go about the job is to be a copywriter for an ad agency. And in this situation, you're working for an agency that has clients that will be coming to them for all of their advertising needs, and you'll get assigned projects based on the clients that you have at that company. Another job for copywriters is to work in the marketing department of a specific company. So let's say you get hired by a startup or a company that you really like, and you're going to be writing the copy for all of their social posts, their websites, their commercials, everything like that. That's a different way to go about the job. And you're writing specific copy for that one company, usually with a handful of other writers as well. Another way to go about the job is to work as a freelancer. And when you work as a freelancer, you have other clients coming to you directly to write copy for whatever piece of the campaign they need you to be writing copy for. And then also, obviously, writing to promote your own business or your product if you're an entrepreneur, or you're just trying to start a startup or whatever it is. Being able to write effective copy is going to be essential in helping you build your business and grow into the company that you want to become. Regardless of the approach you take, this is a job that usually requires tight turnarounds, late nights, tight deadlines, all of that kind of stuff. But I personally think the pressure of a tight deadline is kind of exhilarating and fun. So we're going to be going into a lot more detail on all of this throughout the course, obviously, but I hope that now you have at least a good sense of sort of what the job of being a copywriter is. So before we get into the ins and outs of copywriting itself, I think it's worth examining an effective campaign from the past. So we're going to look at the campaign for the film Paranormal Activity, the first one that came out in 2009. So I know this is an older film, but I think it's a really great example of what effective copy can do. Its production cost was very low, only $15,000, which is pretty unheard of for a film that is as big as it is. And then as you can see, it did extremely well in the total box office gross from a $15,000 investment. The franchise gross that it spawned so far is worth almost $1 billion. And then I know this is over 12 years old, but I'm examining it because it's a great example of what out-of-the-box thinking and effective positioning can do for an overall campaign. So let's look at the core components of this project. It was an effective concept and genre. Horror always sells well, especially if it's really good. It was low budget, so they had a lot of room to take risks and try new things. The film was purchased by DreamWorks after it first premiered, and then Paramount, which owned DreamWorks, gave the film to 12 US college towns in a very limited release. So the obstacles that this project faced: it was a really small film, which meant it had a smaller marketing and distribution budget than Paramount's bigger movies. It had no big stars or pedigree, which is usually tantamount to box office success. And social media was a lot less used for advertising than it is today. So what was the solution to overcome these obstacles and make the film a success? First off, 11 of the 12 college towns were selling out, so it was obviously doing very well. And then the writer and director, Oren Peli, invited audiences to demand it via promotional platform called Eventful on his website. So that line, "demand it," is a really effective example of great positioning, and you'll see why, because it became the first ever major studio movie to virally market a film. And then as it started to get more demands, Paramount promised to everyone that it would do a nationwide release if the film received 1 million demands, and then it did. So the next steps: the film had new positioning. The "demand it" line sort of defined Paranormal Activity because it was becoming this word of mouth sensation that people were loving and everyone else wanted to see it. So they used still standard but effective horror taglines: "Don't see it alone," "What happens when you sleep," in their marketing materials, which is good, but could apply to a lot of horror movies. So then other copy that was showing up in campaign and marketing materials were the "demand it" line. The UK trailer said, "Dare you experience the US phenomenon and experience it yourself." So let's take a look at the trailer for Paranormal Activity. Okay, so that trailer. So as you can see, that "demand it" line shaped the whole way the trailer was positioned. The copy in the back end of the trailer was "experience it for yourself." And then after that, at the button, they showed the "demand it" line again. So I think the thing that this really does, and the key takeaway here, is that it spoke directly to the audience. It gave control to the audience, and that made everyone want to experience this movie. So this positioning obviously caused more buzz because people were seeing other people in the theater reacting to it. And I think before that time, especially, you never saw trailers that showed the audience reacting to the movie. And then obviously it became the success that it is. So some other main takeaways from this: effective positioning is essential in sort of shaping an overall campaign. This one created a really unique identity for itself among all the other horror movies that come out every single year. And it made it that special small movie that you had to request to see if you wanted to see it. This also showed an understanding of the audience. Horror fans are some of the most devoted movie fans that you will find out there, and giving them control over what movies they could see or request to see is huge in an industry where usually audiences have no control over what comes out. It spoke to the audience's emotion in addition to all the other lines. It gave them control, as we said, and it was positive, honest, and authentic. Nothing about that was a lie about the movie. Nothing about it was derogatory about anything else. It was just exactly what the movie was, this small, scrappy film that sort of made its way to the top, and that is a great success story in my opinion. So here's some other campaigns we're going to examine in this course. We don't have to go through all of this right now, but just so you can see that we're going to cover a lot of other campaigns and copy and strategy to give you a better overall sense of what copywriting can do. So let's take a look at brand voice and understanding what that is. You can either be creating one for your own company or your own product, writing for another, which is probably more common for a copywriter. And this is an important thing that we're going to cover first because it sort of dictates all of the other copy. It dictates the tone, the messaging, the style, everything that will inform the copy that you write later on throughout the campaign. So where do you fit in this whole picture of the brand voice thing? Ultimately, you just really need to stay true to the core elements of whatever that tone is and know how to strike that tone and how to meet that tone so that everything feels consistent and cohesive throughout the campaign. Of course, to do this, you want to bring your own unique tone of voice into that brand voice just so that you can keep presenting ideas that are very original and new and different. So, things to consider with brand voice. Competition. It's always good to look at what competitors are doing, how they're speaking to their audiences, and what types of tones they're taking. The audience, who are you speaking to? Who's going to be buying this product, and how can you speak their language instead of just generally throwing words at them? Tone, do you want to be formal, casual, funny? Some combination of all of those things. This is also going to be key in defining a brand's voice. Emotion, like we said, the emotion connected to what you're saying is really important to getting your message across. So what sort of emotion do you want your brand to get across, or what emotion is the brand that you're writing for trying to get across? Identity. So this is where you stand out among the competition, among the audience, in this general niche of whatever you're selling. And then inspiration is important too. I think especially if you're creating your own, it's good to look at companies that you really admire and like and see what they're doing and see what elements you really like in their advertising and their copywriting and what you can learn from that and how you can implement those lessons into your own writing. Okay, so let's look at an example of what I think is very effective branding with BarkBox. So, 2 branding elements to look for. The themed collections, these are right on their website, and they have a themed collection every month. As it says here, every BarkBox has 2 innovative toys, 2 all-natural bags of treats, and a chew curated from each month's unique themed collection. So right now you know that with this company, you're getting something new every single month if you're going to continue to support their business. And so when you look at their theme collections and you see sort of what they're going for here, you can tell that this is going to be a lot more fun and light than anything a little more, serious or heavy or whatever. They've got a lot of great dog puns. It looks like a lot of fun, and they seem to understand their customers who are going to be dog owners. And speaking of the customer experience, this is their call to action, and we'll talk about call to actions later. But you can claim the offer on their website, and then it goes on to ask what your dog's name is, if she's a good girl or if he's a good boy. And then it goes on with this personalization tailored directly to your dog, which is just a really simple, out-of-the-box idea copy-wise, but it's super effective in just connecting on that emotional level with your audience who obviously loves their pets enough to buy them a BarkBox. So let's look at this brand analysis just from these 2 examples. The personalization is targeted towards dog owners over any other customers. So it goes on to ask about your dog's birthday, your dog's breed, your dog's size, and then all the emails that you get from them are tailored to your dog, which is pretty delightful if you're a dog owner. It's very customer focused. Like I said, they know their customers, they're having fun with their brand and what they're doing. It's all funny and light. It's very simple and very effective. They're not trying too hard. And you're going to get something new every month with those themed collections. So to me, that's a very good example of just a brand that is very clear, very defined. And if you're coming in to do a part of a campaign as a copywriter for BarkBox, you have a really good sense of the type of writing that you're going to be doing right off the bat. What can we learn from this? Speak to people, not customers. Once again, this is speaking directly to dog owners, not just to anyone who might have an interest in buying their products. A little out of the box thinking can really go a long way. I think just that personalization to dogs over their owners is a great, simple tool that differentiates BarkBox from any competing companies. Find branding ideas that keep your audience engaged, just like the themed box every month. You know you're going to get something fun and enjoyable every month with this company. And then strike the right tone for your business or products. So obviously, this is the right tone for a company that is selling dog treats and dog toys and all dog-related things. If it was too formal or too serious, it would just be kind of weird and throw a lot of people off. So know what you're selling, know who you're speaking to, and make sure that you are speaking their language and resonating with them on a more personal, emotional, and understanding level. And then a big key point with this too is to be original. You don't want to just imitate a company that you like with your copy. You want to see what other companies are doing and what you do like and recognize what inspires you. But you need to take the lessons you learn from other companies and apply the methods of their thinking to your own to create something that's going to be unique and different and stand out from the crowd.
Welcome to our exercises. I think a great way to learn is to actually put into practice what we're teaching you. So throughout the class, we've set up a number of exercises in most of these sections. So what's going to happen is we'll prompt you with questions or something that will tell you what the exercise is about. And then Brian and I will follow up with actually doing the exercise and analyzing how we did it ourselves for our fake company softs. So the first thing you should decide is what company will you be writing for in these exercises. If you have your own company or product or service, I think it's a great thing to actually practice with your own business. And that way it's something that you can actually use for your business moving forward. If you don't have a product or service and you're just learning this skill to get a job in the future, perhaps you just pick a company that inspires you or even a company that you would like to work for and practice with that company. Or follow along and use our sock, eco-friendly sock company as an example. And that way you can compare and contrast what you come up with what we're doing. We'll leave it up to you. To help make these exercises easy, we've included a downloadable PDF where you can print it out or edit it on your computer. It has spots for you to complete each exercise. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Brian, who's going to give you the prompt for the first exercise.
All right, so for this first exercise, we're going to look at some questions that will ultimately inform how we're going to be branding our company. So the first one, what emotion do you want your product or business to convey? Who is your target audience? Who is the competition? How will you be different? So by answering these questions with some thoughtful answers, then we should be able to get a good sense of the sort of brand that we're going to have for our company.
All right, hey, Phil and Brian, we're here together on the same screen. In each of these exercise reviews, we're going to go through what we came up with for this fake eco-friendly sock company that we're using as an example. And by the end of the course, we're going to be ready to launch this sock company, though. So yeah, we just wanted to come together and kind of analyze what we're doing, and hopefully it will help you, whether you're writing out copy for softs or for your own company. So let's get going with exercise 1, which was helping people determine their brand's voice. So Brian, how about you go through the answers to our questions.
Sure. So these are the prompts that we gave you in exercise 1, obviously, to kind of help you to get thinking about what the brand voice would be, whether you're writing for softs or for your own business. So what is the emotion that you want your business to convey? I think for us, it's comfort. Obviously, socks are comfortable. And I think it speaks to more than just that. It speaks to a sense of comfort that people have supporting a business that is aligned with their own morals or values. And then also the comfort that comes from fantastic stylistic choices when you're wearing something that you just feel really great about. So in addition to the comfort, we want to convey a sense of warmth, welcome, joy, and accessibility. And accessibility over exclusivity. I think a lot of fashion brands are very, targeting a niche audience and trying to be very like exclusive and
Yeah.
cool, which there's nothing wrong with. But I think with our socks, we want them to be kind of for everyone. And those emotions kind of go along with comfort. So I think once you kind of pick a core emotion, you want to think of other sort of elements of that emotion that you can build off of in your copy and write to and think about to position your business or brand. And then this means the tone of our copy. Then overall, it's going to be friendly, funny, and positive and welcoming. Target audience, who are we writing to? I think considering that these socks will be pretty fashionable in our minds and eco-friendly, our target audience, broadly speaking, is going to be environmentally and fashionably conscious people. So they're going to be a little bit, hip and cool and all of that kind of stuff in our mind. And given that more millennials and subsequent generations kind of tend to hold these values more so than others, that's probably going to be our target generation, our target audience, that sort of 20s to 40s age range. Our competition is obviously going to be any other company selling eco-friendly socks or other clothing items. And then how are we going to be different? This is going to come a lot more when we look at the competition for our specific company. But generally, I think just having a greater emphasis on our mission, being different stylistically, so visually, the way the socks look and feel, fashionable but not fashion forward. And above all, we're going to be sure to include our personal voice in all copy. And I think that's the easiest way to differentiate yourself from any other business if you're starting a business, is to just put your own voice into it in something that only you could write in all of your copy and positioning.
Yeah, I think that looks great. I think these are questions that anybody starting a business needs to answer, because it really is going to come across, or it should come across in everything you do. And I know personally, as through my business, these are questions that I didn't answer in the beginning, and I'm continually trying to figure out myself as my business has changed. But I think it really helps if you can even create that persona that you're writing to. And I think for our fake eco-friendly sock company, these are our target audience is just it's just someone that we have in mind who would buy our product and who we're creating it for. It's not necessarily, there's no proof of concept, that we haven't done a ton of research into, this is exactly who we know our audience is going to be, but it's more so who we're targeting, who we are aiming to sell the product to, right?
Totally. And I think on that note too, with these prompts, it's important to keep in mind that your sort of brand voice and image and tone can evolve over time. This is just a way to kind of get you thinking about what it might be. And then, it's always going to be pretty fluid. It's always going to adapt to what you need it to be. But just getting these questions down first will help to inform the rest of the copy, which will evolve over the course of the entire campaign.
Cool. So we'll include, I didn't mention it, but we'll include our filled out PDF so that you can follow along, and hopefully the printable that you can use to write it out or edit on your computer, however you want to take part in these exercises. We just hope that it has helped you. And again, by the end of the course, we're going to go through pretty much the entire campaign strategy and a lot of different aspects of copywriting. So if you take part and you're actually taking action with these exercises, you're going to come away with a lot of knowledge and really feel like what we're teaching is a good real world strategy. So hopefully you enjoyed this exercise review, and we'll see you in the next one.